So have you had a chance to read over the magnet hospital certifications and the associated research on magnet hospitals?
Yeah, I read through all of these. I thought all of the positive outcomes that come from magnet certification were really interesting.
I agree. So the goal is to implement changes throughout the hospital so that we can get our certification within the year. I think we should spend the first month or two asking the nurses on the units their opinions and find out which areas we need to improve upon.
Yeah, and there are four main categories, which are structural empowerment, exemplary professional practice, transformational leadership, and new knowledge, innovations, and improvements.
We'll interview the nurses that aren't on our home units so we get the best responses. So let's go and meet with some of the nurses and find out what they think.
Sounds good.
Hello everyone. So as you may know, we're trying to gather some feedback on what our unit and the hospital as a whole has been doing well and what we could do better. So would you mind giving us your opinion on your time working here in the past year?
Yeah, sure. Over the past year, I've noticed that we've been short-staffed more often than not. My patient assignment has grown from 4 patients during the day shift to typically around 6. I feel like having higher patient-to-nurse ratios leads to a lower quality of care. And at the end of the day, I don't have enough time to chart and be able to check in on my patients.
I really enjoy the opportunities I've had while I'm here. If I don't know something, I have the resources that I need to find them out. However, I feel like we could help the staff out to learn more by creating committees or journal clubs. I want to learn more about the best practices, like how to reduce falls in the hospital.
I've worked in this unit now for almost 5 years and I feel really comfortable here. However, I've noticed that we have a lot of nurses coming and going and none of them seem to stick around very long. We've had a lot of float nurses recently and they've been offering a lot of overtime. Overtime is great for the pay, but if no one picks up the hours, then we don't have any float nurses, we will be shorthanded, and that really affects what we can do for our patients and how we can manage as nurses.
I've worked here a while now and I just can't seem to get the vacation time that I want approved. I can get a day off here and there, but I haven't had a long stretch of time off. I am really starting to feel burnt out. I can't talk to my nurse manager about it because she's always busy.
So do you have any feedback about hospital management or your nurse manager? And do you feel like you work equally as a part of the healthcare team?
I honestly don't really have any feedback for management styles because I don't interact with my manager much. If I have any questions about vacation time or policies, I typically just have to email an anonymous email account. And then if I need real-time answers, I go to my coworkers for any information I need.
I would really like to see some committees on my floor. However, management doesn't seem to support me because of the lack of resources. I really hope to see some change with this.
I feel like it would be very beneficial to be treated as an equal member of the healthcare team. The only time I get to see the physicians are during morning rounds, so whenever an order pops up and I need some clarifications, I'm not always able to get in touch with them. So I feel that we should have some way for nurses to be able to advocate for their patients when necessary and to be able to promptly communicate with everybody.
So I think the feedback reflects that we have professional and intelligent nurses who want to be here. But because of things like increased patient assignments, they're feeling more burnt out and they're just not happy. So I think that if we retain our nurses so that we're not short-staffed and we have smaller patient assignments so there's less stress, we'll reduce turnover.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we can do some sort of incentive, like we could do a small bonus if you come in for extra shifts, especially ones where we really need nurses. Alternatively, we could do a catered lunch once a month where we focus on any new research that's been put out and updated best practices so that nurses can feel more empowered with the information and current policies.
I think that's a great idea, and we could even go one step further and ask the nurses what they'd like to see, what would help them feel more empowered and like they're appreciated in the workplace.
Yeah, I like that. We can meet with them again over the next couple weeks and ask their feedback. So we can link it all together through what's happening with new knowledge, innovations, and improvement for magnet certification. And those monthly lunches we do can also help allocate space and time for any committees or clubs that want to meet during that time.
And then the last thing we have to talk about is just transformational leadership. It's just the kind of leadership where the leaders have the trust and respect of those who work with them. And I think that we could do better and put in some more efforts to accomplish like our institutional objectives, but part of the problem is the nurses may not know what those institutional objectives are because they're not familiar with the hospital management. So I think as leaders we can try and establish a better relationship between the hospital leadership and the nursing staff to better understand the goals of quality patient care, patient-nurse satisfaction, and just evidence-based practices and research for best practice.
Absolutely. I think we should bring this to the table at the next management meeting. Maybe we can do like a forum so that staff can voice their opinions on things that are happening in the hospital or things they want to see change, so that we can continuously be assessing the progression of our hospital goals.
Yeah, I think we have a good idea of what needs to be done for our upcoming plan for magnet certification. So overall, I think we got some really helpful information on how to better improve nurse and patient satisfaction, and I have some of the notes here that will help us to put us in a better position for magnet certification.
Yeah, I agree. Did you notice any themes throughout the interviews?
One that I noticed was structural empowerment, so just us as management leading in a better way that helps nurses efficiently meet their goals and complete their tasks. So we just need to do a better job at giving them resources, opportunities, support, and information that they need to do their jobs.
Yeah, and I definitely noticed that based on what the nurses were saying, we're not entirely efficient in making them feel empowered. I think that we can make ourselves more available to staff. It sounded like they don't feel like they have a relationship with us or aren't able to meet with us when they have questions. Do you think it would be realistic to clear our schedules for a morning every week so that we can meet with them and ask questions if they have?
Yeah, I think that we could even put our schedules on our office doors so that way they can see when we're in the office or unavailable and plan accordingly that way as well.
Yeah, I like that idea. What did you think about the feedback related to professional practice as a whole?
I think that we have professional and intelligent nurses who really want to be here and do what's best for the patients, but they just might be feeling burnt out and that they're not practicing to the best of their ability because they're so burnt out. If we retain our nurses a little better so that we're not so short-staffed, we can reduce turnover.
Hi, nice to see you again, and congrats on being 1 year magnet certified.
Yeah, thanks. You too. It's time to check in with the nursing staff and see if the changes that we've implemented in the past year and a half have made any changes in nurse satisfaction.
Hello again, everyone, and thank you for your time. I know we've asked you to jot down some changes that you might have seen in the hospital in the past year and a half and whether or not they've been beneficial. So if you'd like to kind of share with us your thoughts.
I've noticed a lot of positive changes. 2 years ago, my patient assignment was on average 6 patients per day. Now I'm around 4 patients, sometimes less, which really helps with my time management. Before, I was having trouble managing my time with giving patients medication, talking to their teams, being able to review their charts and checking in on them like once an hour to make sure that they're safe. Now I feel like that's a lot more manageable for me. I've also noticed that our staffing ratios have been a lot better. We've had less turnover and they've hired more nurses that are very well qualified.
I'm sure you've heard this from the other nurses, but the decreased patient assignment has been really beneficial to us. I feel like people are falling less because we're actually able to spend time with our patients. And I also, in the past, was really trying to get my committees together, but there weren't any resources, and now we've been able to get some committees together. Our committees have been able to meet in empty hospital classrooms. I've also been able to organize use of the sim labs that have been used by the med students and the PA students and the residents, and the nurses are also able to use that now, which is really helpful for us. Another committee I've really enjoyed creating is the Journal Club. At the Journal Club, we read articles and share articles, and we're able to use the information from this to be applied on the floor.
Not only have I found my patient assignment to be a lot more manageable, I've also found that I'm a more empowered member of the interdisciplinary team on my units. We have a scheduled morning rounds, which makes it easier for me to plan my patient medication administrations and other things that I need to do in the morning so that I can attend to them each day. We also created a workspace for physicians on our unit that makes it more easy for us to have face-to-face communication with them. Additionally, our paging system has gotten a lot better and physicians are responding in a more timely manner. I also feel as if my recommendations are taken more seriously by physicians. I've also found that my nurse manager is much more readily available. She leaves her door open and has a schedule outside of her office so that I know when she has meetings for the day. This allows me to be able to communicate with her when I have questions. Recently, I didn't know how our new PCA pump worked, and neither did a bunch of the nurses on the floor. So she created a program to teach all of the new nurses, which was great for us.
Additionally, I have gotten to meet hospital leadership through the unit practice councils. There, we all work together as a team to create the rules and policies for the unit and for the hospital as a whole. And from some of those contributions, we've been able to reduce our CLABSI and our CAUTI rates, which have improved our patient outcomes.
We love Magnet!